But my S is show up. Show up every day for whatever God has put on your heart to do. My S. My H is have good habits. Empty, you're running through Starbucks. And my I is being intentional. Be intentional when you are taking a shower. Just take your shower. Don't worry about everything else that's going on around you. And my N is never give up, because there's going to be days where we want to give up. There's going to be days that things are hard. And my E is every day celebrate those wins, because we're going to have bad days.
We're with Angelina Rivera today. Angelina has an amazing, extensive background in process improvement and leadership.
Yes. So it actually started when I was a little child, a little girl. I was the youngest of the first three. My mom had six kids. And so as she would have us do stuff while she was busy working, preparing dinner, going to school, all the things, she would say, like, for example, clean up your room to the three older sisters, me being the youngest. And I was like, I want to hurry up and get this done. I want to go back to reading my books or whatever. And so I was kind of bossy, and or I had leadership skills at a very young age, I should say. I kind of like, let's focus on the things that we need to clean up, not the things that we're going to get distracted with. And my mom would come out and say, we'd come out and say, hey, the room's done. She's like, well, it would take me 3 hours. And I'm like, well, obviously there's three of us. So we each worked on it for an hour. Therefore, we were able to do it efficiently. And from my asking questions all the time, wanting to know why, and not just are we doing it this way? Like, I want to know like exactly why it has to be this process, or why do we have to clean it up this way, or why, like always asking those inquisitive questions got me into trouble at times with my mother or my dad. And then it also got me into the like, well, let's research it or let's figure this out. And so once I got out of high school, I started working as a lab intern and asking those questions and getting a lot of knowledge. I don't think, walking around and looking at stuff, and I'm like, I think that this could be done a little bit efficiently, and all of those things. And then it just got me into being involved in projects that I normally would have not been involved in, as maybe being an administrative secretary or, executive secretary. I was asking questions about the production floor because I was an outsider looking in. And that got me into the, okay, well, I wasn't involved in the particular process. Therefore, I had no ownership. Therefore, I could be the one that didn't have my feelings hurt if I asked questions, or my feelings hurt if the process was being changed. But met people where they were at and learned how to do those types of skills, and got my Lean Six Sigma green belt, my Lean Six Sigma black belt, trained over 600 people on these process improvement projects, and got upward mobility promotions and things like that by just asking questions and saying, hey, I want to do this project. Could I volunteer my time? And helped save the government millions of dollars. And that got me into where I'm doing today, is helping people with their time management.
It sounds like you've had a lot of practice going through that whole progression and journey. So that's awesome. Good for you. So you're a mom too, right?
Yeah, I'm
Okay.
a mom. I have two children that are now adults. And so, yeah, just managing all of that. And, even to this day, my children are now older, but now it's at the stage where I have adult parents, or, elderly parents that need help. And it's still like, how do you manage your time? And I'm glad that God has given me all of these talents so that I'm able to help care for my parents when they need me. I'm able to help care for my spouse who's just, has this disability. I'm able to help still manage my podcast, my company, and still work. So it's all been, God has given me these talents that set me up for what my assignment is right now. So
Do you think that leadership is something that someone is born with, or do they learn it and grow into it, or could it be both?
I think it can be both. I think that you got to be open and willing to learn. Leadership, some of us have those skills where we are born into the, like I said, like from a young age, asking the questions, seeing, which, I say it is leadership skills at a very young age, but you can also learn it. You can also read the books, go and study it, and figure out what skills are needed. At times, stopped talking, or not necessarily stopped asking so many questions, because I was like, I'm getting in trouble. Like in school, I would get in trouble if I asked questions, and sometimes from teachers if they didn't have the answers. And so kind of it holds you back, and you're like, okay, I'm not going to ask questions because I'm going to get in trouble. So you stop being the kid that wants to know, or, all of these things. And that kind of comes through like, okay, I'm doing myself a disservice. And it took some healing work to get to that point. And I've not always been very vocal. I had a time where I had to step back. And so then you have to learn again and like, you know, I have a voice and I need to say what I need to say. And, you know, of course, it's a time and a place, right? And just getting that confidence, which of course is a skill. Some people are born with confidence. For me, it was a lot of learning, a lot of
Mm.
educating myself, and just kind of stepping out into
Is
fear. You don't know everything. And so you have to be open to receive too and open to learn, and not be the one person that thinks you know everything because we don't. I think that when you stop learning, you kind of die inside.
yeah.
And so,
So it's a great answer. And I have to ask, this is just a fun little side thing. Growing up as a kid, when you ask questions, did you ever get because I told you so as an answer? Yes,
oh, yes.
all the time.
Yes, I got
Yeah.
told, I told you so, because, and I'm like, and when my daughter was growing up, she kind of would start asking the same questions. She's like, well, why? And then I'm like, oh, because of, and then I knew right away, I have to let her know why she can't do something. And because I knew like she was kind of being following the same direction as me. And I'm like, do I just shut her down She and was say, funny because she would keep post-it notes. And so she would write her questions to waiting for, and while then when you had time, she had all these post-it notes of questions that she wanted to ask. And so that was kind of funny.
That's kind of where I was going with that was like, did they follow in your footsteps, like asking you questions and
Hmm.
but the difference is that you know to not just shut it down
Hmm.
and even encourage it, maybe, because that inquisitiveness is part of what led you into leadership to the degree that you're in it now, where you're a founder and owner of your own company, which is called Refine Consulting. I'd love to hear a little bit about how you came up with that name.
Like that. Refining is everything is not always going to be perfect. I mean, we have to continuously improve, and that's where the refine came in. Is always looking at what's the ways that we can improve things. And like, I can't be a change agent and then not have something to not want to change. And so I thought refine was the best way, making things better, improving things, helping things. And it's not just refined and we're done. It's just refined because I think it's always about refining. And so that's kind of how I came up with the name. And when you do process improvement projects, you go out there and improve something, you're refining it. And so it was just something that kept sitting on me. And I was like, I'm going to do refine consulting. And the Refine and Shine podcast that I have is a subsidy of that because as we refine things, I want them to shine and to shine for improvement. And then I tie that into what I call my shine principles as well. And so that all kind of led into together.
Yeah, beautiful.
There's been a couple of times where I had to pivot, and wanted to learn. I would say the first time came in 2013. And in that time, there was a lot of things going on in my life and a lot of hard things. And I knew where I was at was not where I wanted to stay at. I knew that I was made for more. And so I applied for a job, a promotion, and the odds of getting that promotion were really good. That promotion was something that was open internally. They were only opening it up to people that worked in that facility or in that company. And they were going to hire, I believe it was 6 positions, and there was 13 of us that could qualify. So my odds were good. I did not get that position. And it was hard because financially I really needed it. And that's when I went out and sought my green belt. I'm sorry, my black belt certification, which in process improvement world, lean manufacturing, the black belt is the top rank for this program. And so I sought out there. They said no, you couldn't go for it because we have somebody on the East Coast. And so I had to write out why I thought I should go. I justified why I should go and do this training. I found a training program that was reasonably cost. I did all these things. So I kind of fought for myself. And eventually they said yes, and they allowed me to go to this program. And unfortunately, the person that was our East Coast person shortly passed away right after I finished the program, which was really hard. But it was also like, okay, like it was like everybody's like, did you know this person was going to get sick and that you were going to have to lead it? But it was just like, no, I just felt in my that we can't have single points of failure. And so that was one of the reasons I pushed through it. And as I also went through trying to figure out how I can better myself, when I saw a process, I asked, can I lead it? I kept saying, and here I'm leading these with the people that got the job. Like, why are you helping them? They got the job that you didn't get. And I'm like, I don't care. Like, I want to learn and I want to grow and I know that it's going to pay off. And so it's kind of like you just have this knowing that if you keep pursuing it, that's going to work out in the end. I went back to school. I had never finished my bachelor's because, life happened. And even though I had a couple of associate's degrees, I went back to school and got my bachelor's. So I did all of these things. And when the position became available again in 2017, about 4 years later, I applied for the job. This time there was only one position available and they opened it worldwide. So anybody in the world could apply for this job. You didn't even have to be part of the federal sector. You could be anybody. And so odds were very slim and I got the job. And then 2018, so that happened. It happened in 2017. I applied, I got the job in 2018. Well, then years later, in I would say 2024, I believe it was 2023. In 2023, I felt like I was stuck again. And I'm like, I've been doing this job for 5 years. I've been put into all these positions, different areas that I was in charge of. But I just had this knowing that God said I was made for more. And I know that that's weird, but I just had this thing like I kept getting these whispers, you can do more, you can do more. And I heard Trent Shelton speak, and he had said, and I was at a conference, and he said that we always say that I wish I could be more consistent. If I was more consistent, I'd be able to do this or that. But we have a complacency problem. We're complacently going to a job that, that maybe we're not that happy with, or we do all these things. And it just spoke to me and resonated with me that I can go out there and do anything. I don't have to be held into the community or the commute, 50-mile radius of where I'm at. And so it kind of sat on me. And then one day I just kind of felt I needed to look for a job. Um, and I put in a job, put in a search on the search engine for this website, and I found a job that it was worldwide. And I told my husband, I think I'm going to apply for this job. It's in Maryland and I live in California, but let's just see. I put in for the job, again, another worldwide job, got called back for an interview, second interview, third interview, finally got offered the job and took it, even though I lived in the West Coast. I applied for this job on the East Coast. I took it. It was an upward mobility position. I've made some amazing relationships, and it's also helped me. This allowed me to set up my podcast. It's allowed me to start my consulting business and all of these things. And so that's kind of how it all came about is like there's times when you just know that your growth, you're stagnant and you can stay there and say, I'll wait 16 years till I can retire, or you go out there and find something that's going to make you keep continue to grow and continue to help you shine in other ways possible that you didn't think were possible.
Beautiful. And to think it, a few minutes ago, you told me you struggled with confidence when you were younger. And here you are just like, this is why you need to hire me. I live way the heck over here. But, at one point you said you stepped into your fear and it was it was where things began to shift for you.
Mhm.
I'd love for you to expound on that and also who were you before this pivot and this shift happened? What kind of person were you? If we met you back then, what would that have been like?
Let's go back. So when I stepped into my fear, the thing is, I was in a consistent, my job was steady, right? I was in a steady job. Let's go back and the fact that where I was working at, my great grandpa helped build that facility. My grandma was the first journeyman mechanic. My dad worked there. So there was a lot of legacy there. And when I stepped into my fear, it was like, I don't have to let this area, because I had all these generations that had worked here. And so stepping into my fear was saying that I don't have to be the one that also retires here. And that was pretty, like, my family bond is really strong. And, but I had to say, it doesn't mean that I'm leaving my family. I'm not leaving a legacy. What I'm doing is building another legacy. I'm showing that my family that you don't have to be confined into your, the radius or where you've been. And then I'm not saying that that place was bad. Like my son actually worked there, and because I left, my son was given opportunities that had I been still there, he would have not been able to have because of the position that I was in. And so that's where you step into your fear and saying, just because this is close, this is comfortable, doesn't mean that it's okay. Like you can step in and say, I know that I'm made to do more things and I have a big vision. And when God gives you that vision, like it's not fair to dishonor it and say, oh, I'm just too scared to step out. And the person that I was before I even like back into maybe say even 2022, well, start back into 2000. I would work and do all the things and be the yes person and say, yes, I'll do this and yes, I'll do that and take on all these roles and responsibilities and maybe at times was doing 3 to 4 jobs of people just because I kept wanting like didn't want to be let people down. And now I have learned to say, no, this is not what I'm going to do and this is what I'm being paid to do and that's kind of what I have been is getting that strong vocal voice and saying, what am I being paid to do? And doing that. And it's not to say that it's being rude or you can only take on so much. We all have limits. And when people keep stacking things on, it's setting those boundaries, basically. Setting those boundaries. I was a person that just let people take advantage of my skill sets and take advantage of what I would say. And like, remember I said I was the person who would say, yes, I'll volunteer for this project.
Yeah.
There's a time when you have to stop volunteering and say, I can't keep taking on these roles. And just because I've been able to do it, I also need to have boundaries because I only have so much capacity and I still have to be present for my children. I still have to be present for my spouse when I come home from work. And I can't only have one day off and be so exhausted because I've been saying yes to everybody that I say no to the people that love me because I'm so exhausted. And so that was the person I was. And so I'd become, and I hated it because it was like,
Mm.
that's not what God made me for.
See,
And I had to, and it all goes back to being, the way that I was raised, I had a scarcity mindset and I always wanted to people please everybody, and things like that. And the reason I had a scarcity mindset is because I was born in poverty. We were born in a very poor environment, and I knew that I wanted to step out of that. But in order to do that, I wanted to be the overachiever and the person that everybody liked. And I had to do some healing work. And so that's a lot has happened in the last few years.
and so what is that? You've mentioned it, but you haven't actually expounded on it yet. Your vision, the thing that you feel God has called you to at this point in your life, and I don't, by the way, I think that that's weird at all.
My vision is that I can make an impact on so many businesses out there and
Mm.
so many entrepreneurs and founders of their own companies. I can give them, there's so many people out there who are struggling. They're struggling with they're staying up at night because they are worried about what their business, the next act they have to do for their business. They're worried about their profits. They're worried about um, the things that they have bottlenecks in their business and they're putting band-aids on the things because they just don't know and they're just trying to hurry up and solve a problem because they have to fight the next fire. And so my vision is to help make an impact on those businesses, help them go through their processes, go through the things that are keeping them up at night and going and walking through and telling them what is the things that are adding value to their business or in these processes and what are the things that we need to eliminate. We all have waste in our lives, even um, and so going through those and eliminating those things and so that I can help them improve their efficiencies, help them not have to stay up at night, help them to stop being the single point of failure so they can go and take a vacation with their family. My goal is also to help those entrepreneurs with my time management coaching, help them set boundaries, help them get clarity on their goals and their vision, and help them streamline things so that they're not the person that has to do it all. Because like I said, in my life, I've had to be the person that had to do it all, and I had to step back and say, no, wait, I can delegate some of these things. And so that's what I teach in my programs. And eliminating those distractions. People think that they're really busy, and sometimes they're just avoiding what the things that they're supposed to do because they're so distracted because they have that fear and they're procrastinating because of those fears. And so that is my vision to help them see what they're capable of and get clarity on that and help them achieve the goals that God has put in their hearts. My goal and my vision is to help I had a dollar amount in my head a long time ago, and it was $1 million. Help a million companies that make $1 million, help them achieve those efficiencies. But I think that is too small. There's a bigger dream and it's not for me to make the money. It's to help those companies save those billions of dollars, because I think that that's so important and help them have the life. The founders have the joy in their business. We all
Could you walk us through the process of how you actually connected those dots when it was time to pivot? Whether you want to talk about the one time or both times, it's up to you. But there must have been, again, that messy middle, that process of like unlearning and relearning and just sitting with the ick, you know, and trying to figure out, okay, what is this supposed to look like going forward? How do I implement or integrate all these things in a way that does work and is soul aligned with my purpose.
Mm. So I would say one of the things that's held me through it and walking through the process is remembering my shine principles. And I came up with these shine principles quite a while back when I went through a burnout in between my two children. 24 years ago, I had miscarried at 20 weeks and I got burnt out. And I um had to take care of my son. And when I say I got burned out, like I was trying to like just hurry up and go through the motions that ended up collapsing a couple months later after I had had the surgery because the child had passed. I burned out to the point where I collapsed at work, had to be put in the hospital and like all of these things. And so when I was looking at my son after I got out of the hospital, I'm looking at my son and I'm like, here this child is who depends on me, and yet here I'm giving myself to, it's kind of been a couple of times where I've burned out, right? That I had to pivot. And how can I show up for him? And so that's when I developed these principles I call my shine principles. And sometimes we've gotten overwhelmed and we forget what we're supposed to be doing. And so I've had to go back to these a lot. And I've really been focusing a lot on them the last few years. Show up for your family, show up for you. Most importantly, show up for you. That's my S. My H's have good habits. Look, as you're running on empty, you're running through Starbucks or a coffee place or going through fast food and all these things. Is that a really good habit that you can have? And my I is being intentional. Be intentional when you are taking a shower. Just take your shower. Don't worry about everything else that's going on around you. Don't think about the meetings that you have to plan. Don't think about the calls that you have to make or what you have to make for dinner. Like just be present where you're at. When you're sitting down with your family for dinner, don't look at your cell phone. Don't be distracted by all the things that are pulling at you because time with your family is precious. And so that's my I. My N is never give up because there's going to be days where we want to give up. There's going to be days that things are hard. But if you can just do one thing for your business or one thing for yourself to move yourself forward, just never give up on the goals and the dreams that God has put in your heart. And my E is every day celebrate those wins because we're going to have bad days. We're going to have days where it's going to be a struggle. I've struggled with some health issues. I have loved ones that struggle with health issues. If one of the things that we did that particular day is just get out of bed and we were able to make our bed, we celebrate that. Because every day we always look, those wins are so important because what we're looking for is we always want to just get to the next finish line, the next finish line. And we don't think about all the progress we made. And when things are hard, if we look at the progress that we made, like maybe I've done this many meetings or this many coffee chats or whatever I've done, and I've been able to do it. And maybe I haven't made the revenue goal that want to make for the year, but I've done all of these things to grow my business. That's a win. And
Mm.
when I used to run marathons, I would just focus on the next mile, the next mile. I wouldn't focus on the finish line. If I could just get to the next mile, if I could just get to the next mile, it's just every day those incremental moves that you can make is going to help move you forward. And so those are the things that I really I use. And when I talk about celebrating those wins, I write them down. I think it's so important because then when times are hard, you can go back into that journal or go back to that notebook and look at all the things that you're able to achieve. And reflection is so important. But what we do is a lot of times I see it is everybody puts work first, then they put their family, and then they put themselves last. And what are we modeling to our children? What are we modeling to our family that every work's more important than them? Like we got to really think about that. And so those are things that I've had to go through to learn how to pivot and say, like when my spouse was having some health issues or loved ones are having health issues, if I am telling them, oh, wait, this is more important for work to do this for work, and then I'll make sure it's time for you, that's not good. And so those are the things that I've had to pivot and really work through and making sure that the best thing I can do every day is making sure that I'm taking care of myself, taking care of my family, and then making sure work's taken
Yeah,
care of. Because
society, especially American society, I don't know how it is in Slovenia, but in American society, busy is the badge of honor, right? Just the busier you are, the better you are, the more value you have. At least that's what it projects, right? And yet
Mhm.
there are so many, I haven't looked at the stats lately, but a few years ago it was like 85% of Americans are on some kind of antidepressant. That's a good segue into one of the questions I wanted to ask you too is why do you think that so many women, or do you think that women tie their worth to being busy?
because It's the way that it could be generational. It could be the way that we were raised. It could be we want some type of validation. We want to be recognized for all the things like, look, I've done all of these things. Like we like that's one of the things, like that's an accomplishment. Uh People pleasing so that they can feel loved. And it can go back to this not feeling loved as a child or not feeling being recognized for all the things that they were able to achieve. So that's, I think, a lot of reasons why we go back to trying to just prove ourselves and trying to say, like, hey, look what I did this, or validation. Validation is one of the things that we may be craving. It could be one of our values that we've lacked as a child, we weren't given. And so I think a lot of it stems from that. And I say, and I agree with you when people think rest, I mean, busy is a badge of honor, when I actually think rest is productive. I have found that when I schedule my rest and I use Sundays as a day of rest, I look at my calendar briefly and schedule the things for the next week. But when I rest, and even Jesus rested, he spent time, he went away, you know, spent time in prayer. When I rest, my brain goes crazy. Like I think of all these amazing things and I journal and I read a book and I'm not a book to learn sometimes. Sometimes you can just read a book just to a fiction,
Yeah.
romance novel, whatever it is you can do. I love to read biographies and things like that. Just pick up a book and not to learn, but just to just be lost into whatever the world is. Um, then I come out of that, I feel refreshed, and then my brain's like, oh, I start to brain dump and think about all these things I want to create next. And I think that's important. I hope I answered the question.
Oh, you did
When you
beautifully.
talk
All of
about
success, maybe it's one day the success is just getting up and making your bed. Like, woohoo, we did that much. Um, but putting yourself intentionally into that messy middle and starting to realign, that in itself is a huge success as well, because we all know here that it's so much easier to just stick with what you know, to never take a chance, to never step into that fear and find the courage to do something that is unknown to you, perhaps, but it doesn't mean it's not meant for you. You know, both you and Jamie, our first guest, she said the same thing about knowing deep inside, I'm meant for more. I'm meant for more. And how each of you have, pursued that knowing and looking into all the different ways that you could discover what that means as far as your purpose goes. And it's so inspiring to hear stories like that. And so, what would you say to someone, to a woman out there, maybe who's listening and she's constantly busy and she feels like everything is a priority and she's still unfulfilled? What would you say to her today?
I would say a couple of things. One of them is you're saying you're busy, but what are you really working on? And so I would encourage them to do a time audit. It's simple. I have a free resource on my website, but it's simple. You just kind of write the time of the day. I woke up at 4 o'clock in the morning. 4 o'clock, 4 a.m. I did this. 5 o'clock, 5 a.m. I did this. 6 a.m. Whatever. Track yourself for 3 days. Are you really being busy? Are you procrastinating? Are you distracting yourself from the things that you need that because you don't want to do other things? Are there things that you can delegate? Are there things that, and I use what I don't call it, but it's called the Eisenhower matrix. And it's really simple. It's once you look at that list, what are the things that only you can do? That's number one. What are the things that only you can do? And that should be a priority. What are the things that you can decide to do later? Maybe they don't need to be done right now. Like it's not summer yet. So are you thinking about your summer vacation or not in summer vacation, but maybe like the summer wardrobe or whatever, summer cleaning, whatever you need to do? Like that's not important right now. You can decide to do that later. So why waste time on it right now? What are the things that you can delegate? If you're spending a lot of time, maybe doing grocery shopping or you're running errands for this or that or all the things, is there a way that you can outsource those? There's lots of technology these days, there's Instacart, Target Pickup, all the things. For me, Target Pickup is the best thing to help me save money because then I'm not going through every single aisle. Um, but those are things that you can delegate. Have somebody else do that list for you, pick up those items that you need. Um, and then is there stuff that you just need to delete off your plate? They're not yours to carry. And when you're saying you're busy and being productive, are you really being productive or are you avoiding things? And if you're avoiding things, let's get to the reason why you're avoiding them. Are you scared? Are you worried? Are you worried about judgment? All of those things and helping you get through those things, I think is really important because a lot of us we're scared if we post something on social media or we're comparing ourselves with everybody else. But remember, comparison's a thief of joy. So I don't even look at people's posts before I post. I just kind of like have my schedule. I do what I need to do, and then I look at it afterwards if
Such
I
great advice. And I'm glad you do post that way because that's how we connected in the first place, right? I think
right.
on Threads.
Yes, yes,
I believe your post had something to do with burnout. I'm like, oh, this resonates. I know what
yes.
this is about. One other question I have, and then Olga, feel free to jump in if you like. Um, is what would you say to a woman who is perhaps contemplating making a change? And the inner dialogue is such that it's like it's a little late for that. Just stay down, stay where you are, stay where it's safe. What would you say to her?
I would say that when that first intuition came to you to make a change, that is from God. When everything else said is talking you out of it, that is from the devil. That's what I firmly believe because I know that God puts things on our heart for a reason. When you instantly pray for something or you instantly have this conversation with yourself, like, I want to do this, and that first thought, that is from God or the holy power in the universe, whatever you believe. And then everything else is just talking you out of it. When I contemplated leaving my job or, finding another job, it was a heavy thought. And so really thinking about it, like just digging deep into it, if I was to make this change, if I was to pivot, what are all the best outcomes? And what's the worst? I just stay the same where I'm at. That's it. We're never too late. We're never too like the best time to make that decision is today. The thing is we just wait for maybe the next day, maybe the next day. Just decide. Decide. And once you decide, the path will open up for you.
Stepping into that fear, asking those questions. It started with that. It's gonna like this is what has propelled you forward in every turn is asking the questions, the tough questions of yourself and of your life purpose. And then the important thing too is sitting with those questions because it's easy to ask questions, but you took the time that was necessary to sit with those questions and
Mhm.
seek the answer. And from that, you have built something beautiful that's making a huge impact on businesses today. I thank you for the resilience and the courage that you've put forward and just the guidance that you're providing for women today. Olga, what would you like to ask our guest?
Oh, it was really fantastic to listen to your conversation. You are talking a lot about systems and structure and being tough on yourself. Sometimes life doesn't follow those systems, right?
Mhm.
And you, in the preparation for this conversation, you told us that um, that on the outside you always looked like very productive, but on the inside, internally, you knew that something has to change. And yeah, I would like to ask you how you actually redefined success. What success means to you now, and what comparing to what you thought the success was before.
Oh, yes. So before success looked like maybe a dollar amount or maybe just being there, like working, never saying no, like just saying being like the yes person. But when I would started to do these things called I would look at myself in the mirror and I would start to cry. I'm like, I don't even like I started to not love myself. I looked at myself and like I had gained weight, I had all of these things, and I was just sad and I was like, so it took me a minute to start. I started to do these mirror exercises and just say, I love you, I'm proud of you and things like that. And sometimes it would be a 20 minutes of just straight sobbing. And once I remembered that, I matter and putting myself first and loving myself. Success for me is so different now. Success is just being happy, just being able to say, yes, I did whatever I set out to do today. And maybe I didn't do everything I set out to do today, but I showed up. Or, because sometimes life happens. Like we've said, you can get a call of a loved one, an emergency or whatever it is, or just don't feel good some days, right? But if I just showed up and I just said to myself that I love you, or I did a few things, maybe I didn't do, and I stopped putting 1,000 things on my to-do list, really helped shift me. And just like I said, just loving myself and saying, hey, you may not be the weight you were 20 years ago or 15 years ago, or maybe even 5 years ago, but you know what? You're smiling today, put on your earrings, just brush out your hair, like do all the things and just be happy that you're able to wake up today and that you're beautiful and that God gave you this beautiful vision and that God gave you all of these great things, desires in your heart. I'm proud of you. Was what success looks like to me today is not taking out my anger or taking out my frustrations or taking out anything that happened on anybody else because it's not worth it. It's not, it's learning how to deal with all of those things. The deep breathing, the transition time, relaxing, and just focusing on the good of everything and not being angry all the time.
So these are actually some decisions that you have to make consciously daily, every day.
Absolutely. We all
Mhm.
can decide on how we're going to spend our day. We all make
Mhm.
mistakes.
Yeah.
Yeah. Who are you becoming? What are your plans? What are your desires? Who would you like to change from
Mhm.
here, from where you are now?
Yes. So who I'm becoming, I'm going to become a woman who one day just runs her business full time and not having to manage multiple things because I think that my time is coming where I can step away and just really focus on what God has put for my business. That I want to create actual events where people come to and gather, create masterminds where people are learning the things that I went through and learning from each other. I want to. Those are the things like recreating retreats, having people gather together and share these experiences and have this intimate setting where we can talk about the things that we've been through, that where life has shattered us and how we've come through the other side. Because there's a lot of people who have been through a lot, and we can all learn from each other.
Yeah, it sounds very exciting. Yeah, beautiful.
I have a feeling it won't be long before you're full time.
Yes, I hope so. I,
You can tell us where people can find you and what you can offer to them.
okay, yes. So I think the easiest way to find me would just be going to my website that has links to all my social media, my podcasts. It has links to how do you work with me.
Great. Well, thank you so much, Angelina. This has been just an enlightening and a fun conversation. I wish you continued success in everything that you do.
Well, thank you so much for the opportunity. I really appreciate it.
Our pleasure.
Yeah,
All right.
thank you for everything you were sharing with us.
Yeah.
It was really
Yeah.
interesting.
Very
Yeah,
inspiring.
good. Yeah.
All right. Oh, thank you. I appreciate it. Have a great day.
You too, Angelina.
Thanks.
I
What?
have two faces here outside looking into the
Oh, oh my God, now you're seeing double me? That's scary.
window.